Welcome to Monk's Temple. There is a particular kind of weariness that seems to live in the bones. It's the fatigue you carry when you've been running on a path you didn't choose, toward a finish line that keeps moving. You wake already tired by the weight of what you haven't done, the person you haven't become, the quiet life you haven't managed to build inside the noisy one you're living. This isn't a failure of effort. It's a symptom of something deeper. A soul out of alignment with its own rhythm. For decades, maybe, you've been told that willpower is a reservoir inside some people and not others. That discipline is a character trait, like eye color. And when you find yourself unable to begin the practice you know would help, to sit in stillness, to move your body with care, to break the cycle of reaction, you assume the problem is you. You just need to try harder. Be stricter. Get up earlier. Push through. But what if the entire metaphor is wrong? What if the struggle isn't a sign of a weak will, but of a misdirected attention? The Buddha's first teaching wasn't a pep talk. It was a diagnosis, offered with a physician's clarity. He named a reality we all feel but rarely acknowledge. There is a fundamental ache woven into the fabric of being alive. It's not punishment. It's not personal. It is the nature of a heart that beats in a world of constant change. The Buddhist tradition calls this dukkha, often translated as suffering, but closer to a deep-seated unsatisfactoriness. The subtle friction of being here, the quiet longing for things to be otherwise, the gap between the life you're living and the life you sense is possible. But listen closely to the rest of that ancient diagnosis. If suffering has a cause, it can be understood. And what can be understood can be transformed. The mind, an old teaching says, is the forerunner of all things. What you repeatedly think and do, you become. So the question we must ask is not, why can't I try harder, but, where has my attention been pointed, and what has it been watering? If it feels right, take a moment in the comments to simply share where you're listening from, your city, or the quiet hour of your night. No need for more. And if you can, settle in. Let your body find a position of ease. This isn't a lecture to be memorized. It's a landscape to be wandered through, a story for the tired parts of you. Receive it gently. In the wisdom of Buddhism, karma is not a cosmic scorecard or fatalistic destiny. It is far more immediate and far more empowering. Karma means volitional action, the energy of intention behind what we do, say, and think. When we act from clarity and care, we plant seeds of future ease. When we act from confusion or harm, we plant seeds of future distress. The universe isn't keeping tally. It's simply echoing back the quality of our own choices, like a canyon returning the shape of our shout. Here is the principle that changes everything. If we are not consciously, deliberately creating new karma, new patterns, new responses, new habits of heart, then old karma recreates us. The past is not a faint influence, it is the default script. When we are not actively choosing in the present, the past becomes the present, on a loop, in an endless rerun. I want you to imagine something. Picture a beautiful, handcrafted wooden canoe, floating on a perfectly still mountain lake at dawn. The water is like glass, reflecting the pines and the early pink sky. You're in the canoe, and it's peaceful. But you notice, down by your feet, a tiny, steady drip. A little water is seeping in. It's not alarming. It's just, there. A voice inside, the voice of wisdom, says softly, you should lift that small bucket and bail this out. Or perhaps paddle calmly to the shore. But another voice, the voice of inertia, answers smoothly, why? Look at this view. Listen to the silence. That's effort. That's disruption. Right now, everything is fine. And for a long while, it is fine. The water rises so slowly it's imperceptible. The sun is warm. It's easy to believe you'll deal with it later, when it becomes a real problem. Except, by the time it feels like a real problem, the canoe is low in the water, heavy and sluggish. Now, the mild inconvenience of bailing has been replaced by the cold, frantic danger of trying to swim in deep water as the canoe sinks beneath you. This is the silent cost of not planting new seeds. The leak does not pause out of courtesy. The water does not stop rising because you've chosen to admire the view. Inaction is not a neutral state. It is a choice to surrender to the old momentum. And it's more complex still. We are not just drifting in the private canoe of our personal habits. We are swimming in a mighty river of collective momentum, the current of what everyone around us thinks, fears, desires, and values. The culture itself has a powerful flow. If you are not consciously choosing your direction and swimming with intention, the current chooses for you. You wake up one day with opinions you never examined, wearing a life that feels like a costume, chasing goals that were never yours. This isn't a conspiracy. It's the natural consequence of passivity. When you are not the navigator of your own vessel, you will always end up on someone else's map. The Buddhist teaching points to something both sobering and liberating. Your primary competition is not with other people. It is with your own history. Every thought you've repeated has carved a neural pathway, a groove of least resistance. Every reactive emotion you've indulged has become a well-worn superhighway for your energy. The brain, brilliant efficiency expert that it is, doesn't pause to ask, does this pattern serve your deepest well-being? It simply notes, this is familiar. We do this. And if today, in this very moment, you plant no new seed, water no new possibility, choose no new response, then yesterday wins. Last year wins. The entire accumulated weight of your conditioning wins by default. But here is the truth that makes all of this workable: nothing arises without cause. Not motivation, not energy, not so-called willpower. They are not magical substances you either possess or lack, they are results, emerging from specific conditions. Which means if you understand the causes, you can cultivate the conditions. You are not doomed by your past. You are simply experiencing its momentum until you choose to generate a new one. And that choice can begin in the very next breath. The question, then, is not, do I have enough willpower? The question is, am I, right now, planting a new seed, or am I passively harvesting the old crop? If this were a standard motivational talk, the advice would follow: set bigger goals, create stricter plans, summon more grit. But the Buddhist approach begins elsewhere. It starts not with pushing, but with seeing. Not with fighting what's in the way, but with understanding its shape, its name, its nature. Over 1,000 years ago, a sage named Shantideva described not one, but 3 types of laziness. These are not moral failings. They are patterns of the mind, habitual ways of avoiding the vulnerability that real growth requires. The first is the one we know, the attachment to comfort, the seductive pull of postponement. But the second and third are more subtle, more insidious, and often entirely invisible. The second is the laziness of busyness. filling life with 1,000 urgent trivialities so there is never time for the one important thing. The third is the cruelest, the laziness of self-doubt, the story that whispers you're not capable, that this path is for other, better people, that you've already tried and failed, so why bother? These three, comfort-seeking, distraction, and defeatism, block more human potential than any external obstacle ever could. And the reason they are so effective is that they rarely appear in their true form. They arrive dressed as reasonableness, as self-care, as prudent realism. The practice the Buddha taught isn't about declaring war on these patterns. It's about bringing the gentle, unwavering light of awareness to them. Simply noticing, without judgment, when the hand reaches for the phone to escape a moment of silence. Noticing when the thought arises, I'll start when things are less hectic. Noticing when the inner critic murmurs, you're not the meditating type. That awareness itself, that simple act of recognition, begins the transformation. Not through force, but through illumination. When you see the mechanism clearly, its power over you begins to loosen. We often look at people who seem naturally disciplined, who move through their days with apparent ease and dedication, and think, that's just not who I am. I'm the one who starts things with passion and abandons them when they get hard. And because we believe that story, it becomes true. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, a reason not to begin. It's painful to see this in ourselves, but that pain is the crack where the light gets in. Because once you truly see the pattern, you cannot fully unsee it. And in that seeing, a choice is born: continue to believe the old story, or plant a different seed, just once, and see what happens. Understanding these three patterns matters. Not because intellectual understanding magically dissolves them, but because you cannot work skillfully with an enemy you cannot see. When you finally identify what has been blocking you, when you see it not as a fatal flaw but as a habit that formed for understandable reasons, the path forward becomes clear. Not necessarily easy, but clear. You are not broken. You are not missing some essential ingredient that others possess. You are caught in patterns that may have once served a purpose, perhaps to protect you, to comfort you, to help you cope, but now keep you living smaller than your true capacity. And patterns, given the right conditions, can change. Slowly. Gradually. One conscious, gentle choice at a time. Let's look at the first pattern, the attachment to comfort. We are all fluent in a particular dialect of self-deception. We know, intellectually, what would genuinely help us. More stillness, more mindful movement, more honest conversation, and yet we craft endless, elegant reasons not to do it. These reasons don't announce themselves as obstacles. They arrive dressed in the respectable clothes of common sense. There's a story, not about Einstein, but about a renowned composer I once read about. He wore the same simple outfit every day, a uniform of sorts. When asked why, he said it wasn't about minimalism as a style, but about conservation of a precious resource. His creative attention. He understood that every trivial decision we make, what to wear, what to eat for breakfast, which route to take, draws from the same well of mental energy. If we spend that decision-making currency on things that don't truly matter to us, we have little left for the things that do. He simplified the periphery to protect the center. This reveals a profound truth about our energy. We think of it as a fixed quantity, a tank that's either full or empty. But it's more like a river that flows toward what we value. When we scatter our focus across a field of meaningless choices, we end up exhausted by things that don't nourish our soul. Now, let's be clear, there is nothing wrong with comfort. The Buddhist path is not about glorifying hardship. The Buddha himself tried the extreme of asceticism, years of starvation and self-denial. He discovered it didn't lead to freedom, only to a different kind of suffering. So he taught the middle way. Not indulgence, not deprivation, but a sustainable, wise balance. But there is a crucial difference between restorative rest and numbing comfort. One is wisdom, the other is avoidance wearing wisdom's mask. Restorative rest is when you are genuinely weary, and you sleep. When your body needs recovery, and you grant it space. When you've been pouring out, and you take time to refill the cup. This kind of rest serves life. It is functional, healing. Numbing comfort is different. It's when you're not truly tired, but you stay in bed for hours because facing the day feels heavy. It's when you don't really want to watch anything, but you turn on the screen the moment you enter a quiet room because the silence feels too full. It's when you know a difficult conversation awaits, a boundary needs setting, a pattern needs addressing, and you choose the anesthetic of distraction instead. Attachment to comfort becomes a prison when we begin organizing our entire existence around the avoidance of any discomfort. When the primary question of our life shifts from, what would serve my growth, to, what would feel easiest in this moment. You see this most clearly in the art of postponement. I'll start meditating after this big project at work. I'll begin that exercise routine when the weather gets better. I'll deal with that relationship issue once we've gotten through the holidays. These aren't lies. There is a grain of truth. It is harder to start new things in chaos. But if you watch closely, you'll see the right conditions never quite arrive. The project ends, but then there's a family visit. The weather improves, but then you catch a cold. The holidays pass, but then there's a financial worry. Underneath all these reasonable-sounding reasons is a deeper, quieter truth. What we're really saying is, I'll do this when it stops requiring effort. And that moment never comes. The practice of awakening will always ask something of you. Growth will always involve meeting an edge of discomfort and choosing to breathe there anyway. There is no future, perfected version of your life where transformation happens automatically, without your conscious participation. I remember a period in my own life, years ago, when this pattern had me in a tight grip. I was living in a small apartment in the city. I had a demanding job, and my solace was my little balcony garden. I loved tending to it. But I also told myself I needed to establish a morning meditation practice. Every night, I'd set my intention. Every morning, the alarm would go off, and instead of sitting, I'd think, first, I'll just water the plants. It's so peaceful out there at dawn. I'd go out to the balcony. Then I'd notice a leaf that needed pruning. Then I'd see a weed. Then I'd decide to sweep the floor. 45 minutes would pass in this gentle, puttering avoidance. I was doing something good, even, but I was using it as a shield against the vulnerable, unstructured silence of sitting with myself. My love for my garden had become, in those mornings, the uniform I wore to hide from the work I was afraid to do. This is what constant comfort-seeking does. It erodes our capacity to simply be. One episode of a show becomes 3, becomes a whole season. Somewhere in the middle, you realize this isn't relaxation anymore, it's evacuation. You're not restoring yourself, you're hiding from something you don't want to feel. Loneliness, perhaps. Or anxiety about a future you can't control. Or a grief you haven't let yourself touch. Or simply the raw, unfiltered experience of your own mind, which chatters and judges and wants without ceasing. Comfort becomes the drug that keeps you from feeling any of it. So the first invitation is this: notice. Just gently notice when you reach for comfort. Pause for one breath and ask, is this nourishment, or is this numbing? No shame. Just curiosity. When you pick up your phone, pause. Am I seeking connection, or avoiding presence? When you pour another drink, am I celebrating, or anesthetizing? When you buy something you don't need, am I acquiring a tool, or filling a void? What are you not wanting to feel? Here's the liberating secret: the feelings you're running from are often not the monsters you fear. Loneliness, when you actually sit with it, has a poignant, human texture. Anxiety, when you stop fleeing, often points directly to what needs your care. But you cannot discover this if you never stop running. The pattern's grip begins to loosen the moment you shine the light of simple awareness on it. Not when you fix it. Not when you overcome it. But when you see it. Because awareness is the birthplace of choice. And choice is the beginning of freedom. If this exploration of the quiet obstacles on our path is resonating with you, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. It's a way to support this space of gentle inquiry. Each sharing is like lighting a lamp in a shared hallway. It helps others find their way, too. Your subscription is a deep encouragement to continue this work. Thank you. Now, the first pattern is often visible. We can catch ourselves scrolling mindlessly or procrastinating. The second pattern is far sneakier. It doesn't look like avoidance, because you are busy. Genuinely, admirably busy. Your calendar is full. Your to-do list is long. You are getting things done. Just never the one thing that would actually change the melody of your life. You will reorganize your entire bookshelf instead of sitting for 10 minutes of meditation. You will research the perfect journal, the ideal pen, the best meditation app for hours instead of actually closing your eyes and following your breath. You will clean the bathroom, answer non-urgent emails, plan next month's meals, all worthy tasks, and somehow, the practice you claimed was your priority never happens. This is the laziness of distraction, and its genius is that the distractions are legitimate. The kitchen does need cleaning. Those emails do need responses. The tell is in the timing. Notice when these tasks suddenly become urgent. It's almost always in the moment just before you are about to do something that requires real presence, real vulnerability, real inner work. You're about to sit down and meditate, and suddenly you remember you absolutely must sort your socks. You're about to have a difficult but necessary conversation, and suddenly you feel compelled to check the news. You're about to step onto the path that might actually transform you, and suddenly a dozen productive alternatives spring up, demanding your attention. We fill our lives with 1,000 small urgencies, so there is never quite enough stillness for the deep, transformative current to be felt. There's a teaching that our spiritual practice can become like a hospital. We come when we are in acute pain, after a loss, a betrayal, a panic attack. We seek relief. And when the pain eases, we check ourselves out. We use wisdom as an aspirin, not as a daily vitamin for the soul. Have you seen this in yourself? A crisis hits, and suddenly you're all in, meditating, reading, seeking. Then life stabilizes, the acute pain fades, and slowly, almost without noticing, the practice fades too. Not because you decided to quit, but because other things, perfectly good, responsible things seem more pressing. I'll get back to it when things calm down, you say. But life doesn't calm down. It only changes form. There is always something that feels more immediate than sitting in silent, unproductive presence. What makes this pattern so hard to spot is that the excuses are rock solid. You do have work to do. People are depending on you. You're not avoiding by being frivolous, you're avoiding by being responsible. But somewhere in the endless maintenance of life, the spinning of plates, the managing of obligations, you can lose the thread of what you're building toward. Are you cultivating the inner qualities that would make all this responsibility feel less like a burden and more like a life? Are you developing the patience, the clarity, the resilience that transforms duty into grace? I recall a man I met many years ago at a public talk. He was retired, financially comfortable, living in a beautiful home with a garden. He told me, with great sadness, "I have everything I thought I wanted. And I spend most of my day moving from my chair to the refrigerator to the television, feeling emptier with each pass. My grandchildren send me videos on my phone, and I'd rather watch those than go visit them, because visiting it's an effort. It's real." This, he said, holding up his phone, is just a ghost of connection. He wasn't lazy in the classic sense. He was paralyzed by a lifetime of choosing the ghost over the substance, until the substance felt too daunting to reach for. This is the human condition in the age of infinite diversion. We have built a world where no moment of potential boredom need be endured. Where every question has an instant answer, every desire for stimulation and immediate satisfaction. We call this progress. But what we have actually done is systematically eliminate the fertile ground where insight grows. We reach for a screen at the first hint of unease because we have forgotten how to be with change. Yet everything is always changing. That boredom will change. That discomfort will change. That restless feeling will change. The teaching of impermanence isn't a depressing one. It's the key to liberation from the exhausting project of trying to freeze life into a comfortable snapshot. That discomfort you're feeling right now, it will pass. That anxiety, it will shift. Give it 5 minutes of simple, attentive presence, not trying to fix it, just being with it, and watch it transform. But you cannot witness this miracle if you never stay still long enough to watch the wave rise and fall. The cost of constant entertainment isn't just wasted time. It is our atrophied capacity for depth. When you cannot sit through a commercial break without reaching for your phone, you lose the muscle for sitting through a difficult emotion. When every silence must be filled, you lose access to the spacious silence where your own wisdom whispers. The Buddha didn't discover the end of suffering by staying busy. He discovered it by sitting down under a tree and vowing not to move until he understood. He discovered it by letting the noise settle, until the truth beneath the noise revealed itself. This isn't about renouncing the world. It's about reclaiming your attention. It's about having the ability to choose, in any given moment, where you place the spotlight of your awareness. Because right now, for many of us, our attention is not our own. It has been colonized by algorithms designed to capture it, by notifications engineered to trigger urgency, by an entire economy built on the assumption that your conscious life is a commodity to be mined and sold. Every time you reflexively check a device, every time you fill a quiet gap with noise, you are rehearsing a pattern. You are training your mind to need constant input, constant stimulation, constant escape from the present moment. And the present moment, as it turns out, is the only place where life is actually happening. Everything else, the scrolling, the planning, the remembering, the worrying, is a kind of phantom life, a stepping away from the only reality there is, now. For instance, what might you be avoiding by listening to this very talk? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps this is exactly where your attention should be. But maybe, just maybe, there's something waiting for you when this ends, an uncomfortable truth, a necessary action, a feeling you've been sidelining, and part of you is using even this teaching as a way to postpone it. No judgment if that's true. Just noticing. Because the practice isn't about perfect purity. It's about clear seeing. And you cannot see clearly if you are always in motion. So, a second invitation, what would it be like to allow yourself to be authentically bored? To sit in a waiting room and just wait. To eat a meal without a screen, a book, or a podcast. To be with yourself, unmediated, for even 10 minutes. Many find they cannot. Not because they are weak, but because we have let the muscle of presence atrophy. We have trained ourselves to need a constant stream of content to buffer us from the raw experience of being. But even this second pattern, clever as it is, can be seen. You can catch yourself deep cleaning the oven when you know your soul is asking for stillness. You can notice the elegant justifications, the productive procrastination, the way you fill every crevice of time so the deeper, quieter voice cannot be heard. The third pattern is the deepest cut of all. Of all the ways we sabotage our own growth, this one is the most effectively cruel. It is the story of fundamental incapacity. Not, this is hard for me right now, but I am, at my core, incapable. This is not for people like me. I'm just not good at meditation. I'm not a disciplined person. I'm not spiritual. Other people can do this, but I'm built differently. What makes this pattern so destructive is that it often masquerades as humility. It sounds like honest self-assessment. It sounds like you're just being realistic about your limitations. But it is not humility. It is a prison you have carefully constructed, then locked from the inside, and now mourn as your permanent home. True humility is clear seeing. It is seeing exactly where you are, what skills you have not yet developed, what challenges are present. Humility says, I haven't cultivated this capacity yet. That, yet, is a word of profound power. When we measure our beginning against someone else's middle, we create a suffering that has no purpose. The person ahead of us becomes a source of envy. The person behind us, a source of pride. The person beside us, competition. We turn a path of awakening into a race. And in every race, there are losers. The Buddha taught gradual training. He didn't expect the acorn to be an oak tree tomorrow. He understood transformation as a natural, organic process. A seed doesn't become a sapling in a day. Underground, in the dark, roots are spreading, structures are forming. If you dig it up every day to check for progress, you kill it. You don't look at a seedling and say, this will never be a tree. You understand that growth requires time, sunlight, water, and patience. Yet we do this to ourselves constantly. We compare our chapter 1 to another's chapter 20. We compare our fumbling first steps to another's graceful dance. And we conclude not, I haven't learned this yet, but I am incapable of ever learning this. Listen to the language you use about yourself. I never finish things. I always give up. I can't do this. These absolute words, never, always, can't, are red flags. They signal that fear is speaking, not truth. The truth is almost never absolute. The truth is, I have not finished some things I started. I have given up before, and I may also choose to persist. I find this challenging right now. These statements leave the door to change open. They describe a current condition without cementing it as a permanent identity. When you hear yourself use those absolute terms, pause. That is not clarity, it is a defense mechanism. Because if you are incapable, you don't have to try. If this isn't for you, you never have to face the vulnerability of being a beginner, of being awkward, of not knowing. It's a form of self-protection, but it is also a slow soul annihilation. The moment you decide, I can't, you stop planting seeds. And if you plant no seeds, nothing new can ever grow. So, let us change the entire framework. The question is not, can I do this perfectly? Can I do it as well as that person? Can I do it without ever struggling? The question is, what is the best I can offer, right now, in this moment, with what I have? Not tomorrow. Not when you're more ready. Not when you feel inspired. Right now. Maybe it's 3 conscious breaths before getting out of bed. Maybe it's noticing your irritation without acting on it, just once. Maybe it's 5 minutes of sitting still instead of the hour you think you should do. That is enough. It is more than enough. You are not trying to arrive at a destination today. You are simply taking one sincere step in a direction you have chosen. And one sincere step changes everything. There is a deeper, more pernicious layer to this pattern. It's not just, I can't do this today. It's, I will never be capable. This is my nature. This is categorical self-judgment, a life sentence without parole. I'm just not a peaceful person. I have an angry temperament. Some people are cut out for this life of awareness, and I'm not one of them. And when we believe we cannot change, we often believe others cannot change either. We write people off. We write ourselves off. We mistake temporary states for permanent truths. Someone hurts you, and you decide they are a hurtful person, essentially and forever. You make a mistake, and you decide you are a failure. You feel anger, and you decide you are an angry person. But here is what centuries of Buddhist practice have revealed: the mind's fundamental nature is not anger, fear, or confusion. Its fundamental nature is clear, vast, and aware, like a sky. Anger, fear, confusion. These are like weather passing through the sky. A storm does not corrupt the sky, it temporarily obscures it. The sky remains, untouched, behind the clouds. You are not your worst moment. You are not your most entrenched habit. You are not the passing storm of thought or emotion. Those are conditions arising and passing. You are the space in which they appear. You are the awareness that notices the anger come and go. You are the sky, not the weather. And the sky is vast enough to hold any weather at all. This doesn't mean the weather is irrelevant. Storms cause real damage. Clouds block the sun. The pain of your patterns is real. But they are not permanent, and they are not you. People sometimes say, the spiritual path is too hard. On the surface, this is true. Sitting with a chaotic mind is hard. Practicing patience when you feel rage is hard. Continuing when you see no visible progress is hard. But what that statement often means is, there must be an easier way to find peace. The Buddha's teaching is unequivocal on this: there is no easier path to genuine, lasting peace. There are only easier paths to temporary numbness. Imagine you're back in that canoe. The water is rising. Your companion says, bailing is hard work. Rowing to shore is exhausting. Let's just enjoy the sunset. And yes, action requires effort. But inaction doesn't mean things stay easy. It means you will soon be swimming for your life. And that is infinitely harder. There is no easier way to keep the canoe afloat than to bail the water. There is only the choice: address the leak now, while you have strength and time, or wait until crisis forces you to act in panic. You can spend a lifetime seeking a version of transformation that doesn't ask anything of you, that doesn't require facing discomfort, that doesn't demand change. It doesn't exist. You can change your job, your partner, your city, your appearance. And sometimes external change creates helpful new conditions. But you cannot change locations enough times to outrun your own mind. The Buddha taught that there is no equivalent, no substitute for genuine awakening. You cannot find the same quality of peace by merely rearranging the furniture of your life. That might bring relief, like a painkiller for a broken bone, but it doesn't set the bone. Only setting the bone heals the bone. Only transforming the mind brings lasting peace. Yes, it is difficult. Yes, it requires effort. Yes, it asks you to sit with what you've been running from. But what is the alternative? A life spent seeking a comfort that never truly satisfies? Days filled with distractions that leave a hollow echo? A story of incapacity that becomes a life sentence? There is a teaching that might seem strange: no one complains about having to breathe every day. No one says, ugh, I have to eat again. I have to sleep. We don't debate these necessities. They are simply part of being embodied. You don't wake up and think, do I feel like breathing today? You just breathe. The same is true for the mind. If you want a peaceful mind, you have to cultivate peace. If you want a clear mind, you have to practice clarity. If you want a responsive mind instead of a reactive one, you have to train in wise response. There is no plan B where you get the results without engaging in the causes. There is no shortcut that bypasses the practice. So the path isn't difficult in comparison to some easier alternative. The path is simply what is required, like breathing. You don't have to like it every day. You don't have to feel inspired. You just have to do it. And when you do, when you show up and sit down, even when it's hard, something begins to shift. Not because you're special, but because you're aligning with the way things actually work. You're planting seeds. And seeds, given the right conditions, always grow. These three patterns have likely been running significant parts of your life for a long time. They are subtle, sophisticated, and incredibly convincing. But they are just patterns. Not truth. Not destiny. Not your essence. They are habits of mind that formed under certain conditions and can dissolve when met with consistent, gentle awareness. The work is not to fight them with hatred. The work is to see them with kindness and clarity. And in that seeing, something begins to soften. Not all at once. Not with drama. But gradually, like ice melting in spring, like clouds thinning to reveal the sky that was always there. You will start to notice the choice points. The millisecond before your hand reaches for the phone. The breath before you say, "I'll do it tomorrow." The moment before you conclude, "I can't." And in those tiny, spacious moments, you have a choice. You can follow the old, familiar groove. Or you can plant a new seed. Neither choice makes you good or bad. But only one leads somewhere new. And if you are still listening, if you have followed me this far into the quiet, you already know, in your heart, which one you wish to choose. We have spent time looking at what blocks us. Now, let us turn toward what propels us. Not by importing something new, but by recognizing what is already, always, here. Within you lie 4 innate powers. They are not things you need to acquire from somewhere outside yourself. They are not skills you lack. They are like dormant muscles, waiting to be awakened and strengthened. They are interest, confidence, joy, and moderation. 1. Interest, the compelling pull. Interest might sound too simple to be a power. But it is the fundamental difference between knowing about water and drinking when you are thirsty. It is the difference between acknowledging meditation might be good for you and actually caring enough to sit down and do it. You can have all the intelligence, talent, and favorable conditions in the world, but without genuine interest, that pull, that curiosity, that sense of, "I need to understand this for myself," nothing moves. Interest is what makes you open the book at the end of a long day. It is what makes you choose 10 minutes of silence over 10 more minutes of scrolling. It is what brings you back to the cushion after you've forgotten, after you've stumbled, after you've decided it's too hard. Crucially, interest is not something you are born with or without. It is something you cultivate. Think of anything you've ever become deeply interested in, a hobby, a field of study, a person. It likely started with a spark of curiosity, but it deepened as you learned more, as you discovered layers of complexity and beauty you hadn't initially seen. The same is true for the path of awakening. One of the most potent ways to cultivate interest is to reflect deeply on impermanence, including the reality of your own mortality. This is not morbid, it is invigorating. When we truly absorb, not just intellectually but in our bones, that this life is temporary, that everyone we love will change and pass, that our own time here is finite, something shifts. We stop sleepwalking. The trivialities that consumed us lose their grip. The postponements we've allowed suddenly feel like theft of our own precious, fleeting life. We often live as if we have an infinite supply of tomorrows. We waste energy on petty conflicts, we postpone joy, we delay the work that matters to our soul, because we believe there will always be more time. But there won't. This isn't meant to scare you, but to wake you up. When this truth settles in you, priorities rearrange themselves. The argument that felt so important yesterday feels small today. The grudge you've carried feels like a heavy, useless stone you can finally put down. The practice you've been meaning to start becomes urgent, not as a chore, but as a gift to your one wild and precious life. This is how interest deepens, not through blind belief, but through understanding what is truly at stake. The Buddha himself said, "Don't believe me because I said it. Test it. See for yourself. He invited investigation, not blind faith. Interest based on belief is fragile, it wobbles when experiences contradict it. But interest based on your own verified understanding is unshakable. So, run a small experiment. Meditate for 5 minutes today. Then, with gentle curiosity, ask, did that create a tiny bit more space in my mind? Did it calm my nervous system, even slightly? Did it offer a break from the constant mental chatter? If the answer is yes, you have verified something powerful through direct experience. The practice works. And that knowing deepens interest in a way no sermon ever could. 2. Confidence, trust in your capacity. This is not the brash confidence of ego, the "I am great" of self-esteem. Buddhist confidence is different. It is confidence in potential. It is the quiet trust that this mind has the capacity for transformation. Do you feel the difference? One is about inflating an identity, the other is about recognizing a possibility. Every being has what is called Buddha nature. This is not a special prize for the worthy. It is more like the acorn's potential to become an oak. The oak is already there, in potential form, waiting for the right conditions, soil, water, sunlight, time. You are not lacking anything fundamental. You are in a process of unfolding. Imagine a mirror covered in a thick layer of dust. The dust obscures the reflection, makes everything blurry. But the mirror itself, the clear, reflective surface, is pristine underneath. The dust hasn't corrupted it, it has only hidden it. Your mind's essential nature is like that mirror, vast, clear, aware. Confusion, anger, fear, these are like dust on the surface. They obscure, but they do not damage the fundamental clarity. You are not broken. You are obscured. This understanding changes everything about how you work with difficulty. Instead of thinking, I need to destroy this anger because I am an angry person, you can think, anger is arising in this clear awareness. It is a passing storm. I can learn to relate to it skillfully. The goal isn't to never have weather, but to know you are the sky. There are 3 kinds of confidence to cultivate. Confidence in your capacity to work with obstacles, not, I will never feel anger again, but I can learn to work with anger wisely. I can shorten its duration. I can see it arising and choose a different response. Confidence in your capacity to develop qualities, patience, kindness, wisdom, these are like muscles. They strengthen with use. If you train in worry, you become an expert worrier. If you train in noticing beauty, you become an expert in joy. You get to choose what you train. Confidence in your capacity to help others. You don't need to be enlightened to be of benefit. Even now, you can offer a listening ear, a kind word, a moment of true presence. As your inner stability grows, you naturally have more to give, not from obligation, but from the overflow of care, like wanting to share good news. This confidence grows from small victories. You notice irritation and pause before speaking. That's a victory. You sit for 5 minutes when you wanted to get up after one. That's a victory. Each one is evidence, building the trust that you can walk this path. 3. Joy, the fuel of alignment. This is perhaps the most misunderstood power. We are culturally trained to chase results, get the degree, get the job, get the promotion, achieve the goal. We exhaust ourselves pursuing future rewards, and the arrival is often underwhelming, leaving us looking for the next milestone. Those who master any craft, be it meditation, music, or medicine, share a secret: they don't focus obsessively on outcomes. They focus on causes and conditions. They tend to the process, and the results emerge naturally. Think of boiling an egg. You don't hope, pray, or manifest a hard-boiled egg. You simply apply the correct causes: water, heat, time. The result is inevitable. This is the practical meaning of dependent origination. If you want peace, you create the conditions for peace: stillness, attention, kindness. The peace then arises not as a forced achievement, but as a natural consequence. This shifts everything from a striving for outcomes to a joyful engagement with the process. The focus becomes alignment. When what you are doing matches what you deeply value, a quiet satisfaction emerges that doesn't depend on external reward. This is true joy. It's the joy of the gardener tending the soil, not just craving the harvest. We often use borrowed fuel for our lives. We need anger to motivate us to stand up for ourselves, anxiety to meet a deadline, envy to push us to achieve. These fuels work, but they are toxic and exhausting. The third power, joy, is about generating your own clean, renewable fuel, the intrinsic satisfaction of being aligned with your values, of doing the work for its own sake. This is the mature phase of practice. Phase 1 is the honeymoon, where everything feels magical. Phase 2 is disillusionment, where it feels boring and hard. Many quit here. But if you persist, you enter phase 3, mature practice. You practice not because it always feels good, but because you have chosen it. Because you understand what it cultivates in you. The joy is no longer dependent on entertainment, it comes from the profound sense of alignment itself. 4. Moderation. The wisdom of sustainability. This is where many sincere seekers sabotage themselves. The pattern is classic: inspiration strikes. You go on a retreat, read a transformative book, have a moment of insight. You think, that's it. I'm all in. You commit to meditating 2 hours a day, renouncing sugar, waking at 4 a.m. You are heroic for a week, maybe 2. Then you crash. Burned out, resentful, you abandon the practice entirely for months. This cycle of overcommitment and collapse looks like dedication, but it is a form of self-violence. It ignores the Buddha's very first teaching after his enlightenment, the middle way. He had tried the extreme of luxury, indulgence, and the extreme of asceticism, deprivation. Neither worked. The path, he discovered, is the sustainable middle. Not too tight, not too loose. A rhythm you can maintain not for a week, but for a lifetime. This isn't about lacking ambition. It's about ruthless honesty. What can you actually sustain, right now, with your real life, your real energy, your real obligations? Not what sounds impressive. Not what someone else does. What can you do today, and again tomorrow, and again next month? There is a world of difference between the heroic burst and the long game. The heroic burst gets attention. I meditate 3 hours a day, sounds serious. I meditate for 5 minutes a day, sounds almost trivial. But the one that will change your life is the trivial, consistent one. Better 5 minutes every single day for a year than 3 hours once in a blue moon. Transformation happens through consistency, not intensity. Think back to the concept of your decision budget. We have a finite amount of high-quality decision-making energy each day. If you spend it all on choosing an outfit, debating lunch options, and scrolling through endless choices online, you'll have none left for the practice that matters. Moderation is about simplifying the non-essential to preserve energy for the essential. It's about making the path of least resistance the path you actually want to walk. These 4 powers correspond directly to the 3 patterns we discussed. Stuck in comfort and postponement. You need to cultivate interest. Connect with the why, with what's truly at stake. Trapped by self-doubt. You need to develop confidence, not in a perfect self, but in your capacity to grow. Running on borrowed, toxic fuel, anger, anxiety. You need to find joy, the clean fuel of alignment. Cycling between heroic effort and collapse. You need moderation, the sustainable rhythm of the middle way. This week, just notice. Without pressure, gently ask, which of these 4 powers feels most dormant in me? Where is my growing edge? The simple act of noticing is the beginning of cultivation. When we fail at something, a diet, a practice, a new routine, we usually blame the last step, lack of follow-through, weak discipline. But the real failure often happened much earlier. Most people skip straight to making plans without first honestly assessing the terrain they're starting from. You can't navigate with a map if you don't know where you are. Any wise endeavor has 4 phases. 1. Read the terrain, diagnose your actual, current situation. 2. Set objectives. Based on that honest diagnosis, decide where you want to go. 3. Create a plan, bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. 4. Implement, take action. Most of us start at step 3 or 4. We jump to plans and action without clear diagnosis. No wonder we get lost. Reading your terrain means asking honest questions and accepting the answers, not the ones you wish were true. Resources. How much time do you actually have? Not should have. Actual, available minutes in your day. Energy. Are you in a season of depletion or surplus? Be honest. Support. Do you have community, or are you walking alone? State. How is your physical and mental health? A practice during crisis looks different than a practice in stability. Circumstances. What real responsibilities, children, work, eldercare, shape your days? Understanding. What do you actually know about this path? Are you a beginner or do you have a foundation? Patterns. What has worked for you before? What hasn't? When have you succeeded in building a habit? This honest assessment is rare because we usually already have a fantasy of what we should do. We try to force reality to fit the fantasy. And reality always wins. There is no one-size-fits-all practice. The right practice is the one that meets you where you actually are. Someone with high anxiety needs grounding. Someone with lethargy needs energizing. The most advanced practice is not the best one, the most appropriate one is. There's a beautiful medical metaphor. If you need a blood transfusion, they don't drain all your blood out first. You'd die. Instead, clean blood is added gradually as the old blood is removed. Slowly, steadily, you are renewed. This is the Buddhist path, gradual transformation. Introducing wisdom and kindness little by little, while old confusion slowly dissipates. Not a violent purge, but a gentle, sustainable shift. The ego loves binary thinking, success or failure, enlightened or hopeless. The path rejects this. The question is not, am I enlightened? The question is, did I take one small, genuine step toward freedom today? Direction matters infinitely more than perfection. So start where honesty lives. If you haven't meditated in years, your goal is not an hour a day. Your goal is 5 minutes, 3 times this week. That's it. Succeed at that. Build evidence of your own capability. Then build from that success. Remember, karma is intentional action. When you choose freely, to meditate because you see its value, to speak kindly because you've cultivated that heart, you are planting powerful seeds. But when you are forced by circumstance, to change your diet because the doctor gave an ultimatum, to be generous out of guilt, there is less karmic power. You're being pushed, not choosing. Imagine 2 people. One, in good health, starts eating well and exercising gradually, because they value vitality. They build strength and agency with each choice. The other ignores all signs until a crisis forces drastic change. Both may end up healthy, but one is walking a path of empowerment, the other a path of fear and resentment. Karma first invites. It's a whisper, a slight unease when you reach for your phone, a small voice suggesting you don't need that 3rd drink. If we ignore the whisper, it speaks louder, the unease becomes anxiety, the suggestion becomes a health concern. Ignored still, it shouts, relationships suffer, health declines. Finally, it demands, crisis hits. Change is no longer optional. The secret to a wise life is to respond to the whispers. Change when it is still a choice. Make gentle adjustments instead of desperate overhauls. Build from a foundation of well-being, not from the rubble of a crisis. This entire teaching, these patterns, these 4 powers, is about how to access the motivation for change before the emergency. How to transform freely, from aspiration, not desperately, from catastrophe. Sometimes we see people who radiate peace and think, they're special. They have something I don't. The Buddhist tradition teaches, no one is born complete. Every quality you admire was cultivated. Every moment of peace arose from training. You might be at a different point on the path. You might have different obstacles. But you are not less than. Your mind has the same fundamental capacity for freedom, for love, for clarity. This isn't pressure to become a saint. It's permission to not settle for unnecessary suffering. You have real options. Kindness isn't foreign, you've felt it. Clarity isn't a superpower, you've experienced moments of it. You're not building a new self from scratch. You are uncovering what has always been there, buried under layers of habit and fear. We have walked through a great deal together. The weariness, the patterns that bind, the powers that free, the wisdom of starting where you are. None of this is meant to overwhelm. It is meant to illuminate a path walked by countless ordinary people who chose to show up for their own lives. You don't need to remember every word. You don't need to implement it all at once. You just need to take one step. One small, genuine step. Maybe tomorrow, you sit for 5 minutes before reaching for your phone. Maybe you pause for 3 breaths before reacting to a trigger. Maybe you water a seed of gratitude instead of complaint, just once. One step. Then another. The path is gradual. Gentle. Like a transfusion, not a purge. Like spring arriving slowly, not a sudden explosion. And it is available to you, right now, exactly as you are, with all you carry. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. You are human. And this path was made for humans. So, take a breath. Feel your body here, now. Notice that you listened, that something in you was interested enough to stay present. That is not nothing. That is the first power, already stirring. The seeds are planted. The conditions are gathering. What grows from here is up to you. Not through force, but through patient, honest, gentle choosing. One moment. One breath. One step. Until you look back one day and realize, with quiet wonder, that you are not the same person who began this journey. And the path ahead, though long, feels like a homecoming. Welcome home. Welcome to Monk's Temple.